jargon figures and announce. Do cancellations, they explain to no candidate, they explain to no party. And yet the law says, if you challenge it, he who alleges must prove. No. In every other matter, that may very well be the case. That's the common law. But we must make a change in our reviews in the Electoral Act now, requiring that for electoral matters, which are, as we lawyers say, sui generis, they are a particular class of their own. We must shift that burden. The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC. I want us to look at this carefully, and then when we do the clause by clause and at the committee considerations, we can look at it. Mr. President, thank you very much as we unite to give this country an electoral act that will stand the test of time and deepen our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me commend my brother, distinguished Senator Seriaki Dixon. And also, I'm sure that even myself and Senator Abaribe, who have been around for almost 2.5 decades in these electoral matters, I know you don't care about political party, you win election in any party. You have a lot of experiences, but you will agree with me that since PDP left, the elections have improved tremendously in this country. Because I recall I've been close to most of the presidents since 1999, and I recalled in 2007 when I won as a governor, our then president, may so rest in peace, President Yaradua, had to come out publicly to say that the election that brought him as president was totally flawed. I don't know whether you know that. He said it, that it was totally flawed, that the election was full of inconsistencies and rigging. Since then, we have plugged the holes. So now, imagine this last election. We had to go up to Supreme Court, arguing as to whether winning the Federal Capital Territory was the only reason why you should become president. Instead of FCT being counted as a state for the purpose of calculation the 2/3, people are saying, no, win FCT and then you have won presidency. So you can lose in 36 states of the federation, but once you win FCT, that automatically you have become president. And they wasted time. They had panels upon panels in different television studios, and at the end of the day, we got to Supreme Court and back. Common sense could have told us that that was not the intent of the Electoral Act. So we can only do our best. Nigerians will still do mischief, and for those of us from Anambra, we know that there are people who travel abroad during election, crafting papers, and immediately after the election, they go to court. And they would submit papers that you can't even fault. And then suddenly you find them inside the Senate. And the real winner is crying outside. I don't want to mention the name, but Senator Alero, you know the best. no need. So we must find a way to plug the loopholes of such occurrences so that we can have a better electoral system. But just to add, so we can go into other businesses, is there anybody who is opposed to this electoral amendment going for second reading? Anybody who is opposed to the Electoral Act amendment going for second reading? Senator Garba, are you opposed to it? Maidoki, are you opposed to it? If you are not opposed to it, let's go for second reading, because we still have Lagos to go and ventilate our thoughts. No, but this time around, I bow to you. I defer to you. So please say something.
Thank you very much, the Senate President, for recognizing me. My name is Senator Garba Musa Maidoki, representing Kebbi South Senatorial District. It's a privilege to be able to comment on this very important issue, sir. And I would like to commend Senator Seriake Dixon, first, for making it possible that the law should allow INEC to be the one that will prove their election instead of the other way around. The INEC has the voting materials, have the PVC. I saw it on newspaper just last 2 weeks that INEC is requesting 1.5 billion for somebody to get a certified root copy. That is absurd. But largely, sir, I have seen election. I know I'm a first timer, and you know we went through baptism of fire. I have seen election where the guideline has clearly stated this ABC. People were declared winners with less than 100 votes instead of saying the election is inconclusive. And those people were never prosecuted. INEC didn't do any post-mortem to say, look, what you did is wrong, and bring those perpetrators to book. I think INEC need to, after each election, see where the infringement are, who acted on that infringement, and actually prosecute it. And lastly, sir, is diaspora voting, sir. Sir, I understand diaspora remittance is now more than the crude oil income coming into this country. If these people are so patriotic to be bringing in dollars, when some of us politicians will be taking this money out without any job, they have sweated, get the money, brought it back to Nigeria so that it will improve our economy. Why are they not allowed to determine the future of this country? Thank you, sir.
Is that last point? You said people brought in money. No, it's important because you are talking to Nigerians.
Yes, sir.
You said they brought in money so that they can determine the future of Nigeria.
No, they should be allowed to also participate in determining the future of Nigeria. The diaspora people.
So because they bring in money.
Yes, sir.
Into the country.
Yes, sir.
They should be allowed to determine the future of Nigeria.
No, in participation with other Nigeria. Don't get me wrong.
Okay,
so that they can vote. That's what we are saying.
I thought those of us that are in Nigeria should be excluded.
No,
those who bring in money should be allowed to determine.
No, we don't want you to be excluded.
So,
but those people are very patriotic, Your Excellency.
The Distinguished Senator Ekong Samson.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Ekong Samson. I speak for Akwa Ibom South. I am most interested in this conversation because even our very uncommon president was a witness when I won election from Uyo prison. So this topic has a strong attraction to me. I think it cuts across theaters of conversation. It has to do with our trusteeship, with our social contracts. I've always been of the opinion that ghosts don't rig elections. Ghosts don't appear and rig. It is the players who compromise, who subvert the clear rules that have been set up and outlined. I think the pith and substance of this conversation has to do with our attitude to electoral integrity. I am firmly of the opinion that unless we firm up our electoral integrity, we leave our democracy in peril. We don't lack laws in Nigeria. We have a welter of laws. The major challenge we have is the implementation, is the enforcement of these laws. And that's why the issue of sanction, where there are clear infractions in electoral process, has a strong attraction to me. So as we look at the gaps in electoral law, it is imperative that we address the issue of sanctions, which will also serve as a deterrent. I wrote somewhere, you recall that I do a lot of poetry, and in one of my poems, I lamented that outside we condemn Oyenosi, but inside we still vote. And that in electoral process, there are two types of feel. They feel, or what looks like they feel, as much as possible in addressing the issue of integrity in electoral process. We must ensure that the feel is actually the feel, and that the result clearly reflects the will of the people. That is the substance of this conversation. That we have to see ourselves, that the players must see themselves as trustees of the mandate of the people, as people who have been given some mandates to play out, and that we must have respect to the will of the people. As I said earlier, it is the operators that create the problem. Whatever gaps that we need to fill up, if our behavior falls short of basic expectations, we continue with this cycle of discourse. But I think that this offers a clear opportunity for us to correct the imbalances, to right wrongs. And I wrote somewhere about the road wrong. Whether something favors us today, we must always look at the larger picture. Where our electoral process is full of gaps, we might well be entrapped by those gaps tomorrow. So as much as possible, we must make laws that stand the test of time, laws that entrench core values. And to me, there are no better values than those values that have to do with our electoral system, because they go to the foundation of our existence. So I'm clearly persuaded to find merits in this amendment, and I trust that we will look beyond the moment, come out with a law that will outlive us, that will ramp up the confidence of our people. At the end of the day, the world will be very happy that Nigeria, whom the world looks up to, has a very, very solid premise that we can use to drive our democracy. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Danduse.
Thank you, Mr. President, my respected colleagues. I remain Danduse Muntar Mohammed, representing Kasana South. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, this bill is timely, and for austerity reason and for a better success in election in Nigeria, we have to look at the very fundamental issues that are left behind. One, unless, of course, since the amendment is comprehensive reform, a repeal and enactment intended to provide with a stronger, more credible and more inclusive electoral reform. If, as lawmakers, to make this thing work responsibly and efficiently and even to save cost for the country, it is very important to hold election of all elections of various offices at one day. And at the same time, the election of local governments must be brought to the National Electoral Commission so that at least credibility will be restored in the election in the grassroots, because that is where the election is supposed to be formed so that it will have a meaningful development in Nigeria. And finally, Mr. President and my respected colleagues, the number of political parties in Nigeria are many. So it's supposed to be, in this electoral reform, at least not more than 10. Some of them, they are just in the paper because they are not meaningful to the electoral process of Nigeria. They are only creating confusion. And at the same time, the defection issues which need to be addressed, because you cannot be elected in a platform and then you will be defected without a strict law that is supposed to be put in, because the mandate and the will of the people is being betrayed. So as a matter of fact, we have to look at it as leaders to ensure that if we want to make this electoral amendment and to restore the confidence of Nigerians and also to restore the dignity of Nigeria in the international fora, we have to make sure that all these issues are looked into clause by clause so that we can move this electoral bill forward and make Nigeria greater for the better and for the yet unborn generation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Is there anybody who is opposed to this bill going for second reading? In the absence of it, may I ask those in support that this bill We now read the second time. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Electoral Act number 13/2022 and enact the Electoral Bill 2025 to regulate the conduct of federal, state, and area councils in the Federal Capital Territory elections and for related matters 2025, SB 903, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal the Electoral Act number 13 of 2022 and enact the Electoral Act 2025 to regulate the conduct of federal, state, and area councils in the Federal Capital Territory elections and for related matters 2025, second reading taken. This bill is now committed to the Committee on Electoral Matters to report back to the Senate within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate. So I thank all our colleagues for their contributions. And like I said, we also have another one this weekend, I think in Lagos. In Lagos, yes. You'll be there. So we have another one in Lagos this weekend, and we continue to discuss until we get a near perfect electoral act for the country for the 2027 elections. And I know that God will guide us. I have taken cognizance of most of the submissions of people that INEC sometimes believe strongly that it does not have much responsibilities when it comes to electoral matters, because it is assumed that whatever INEC does is perfect. So this time around, the INEC must be held responsible, because they are the ones that have the electoral materials and they are the ones that are in charge of logistics and all. So we must give them some responsibilities in court to prove that yes, indeed, their actions were legal and their actions were in tandem with the will of the people. And then I must also commend Nigeria for the improvements in the Electoral Act, that in Africa, we were even the first to submit to presidential electoral victory even before the announcement of the final elections. And if other countries follow suit, then the elections in Africa would have been fantastic. But we have had improvements upon improvements, but we think we are not yet there. It's not yet perfect, and therefore we'll do our best to ensure that we craft